What's up, guys? Today I'm bringing you another video, and today we're going to talk about gut loading your feeders, like your bugs or whatever that you may have, and why it's important, what I do, and yeah, so let's get on with this. I actually had a bunch of questions about this and what I gut load and why I gut load and what is gut loading, so I figured I'll just make another video about it. I'm going to apologize now for the scratching in the background. My bearded dragon's about to lay eggs here soon, so she's really uncomfortable, and she's scratching at the cage and whatnot, just trying to get a comfortable spot, I guess, to lay her eggs and nest in. So apologies for that. So let's get into it. So I guess we can start by saying, what is gut load and why do you gut load? What's the purpose? So gut loading essentially is just feeding your feeders before you feed them off to the reptile. So it's a lot of reptiles that aren't like bearded dragons that eat greens and vegetables and fruits and stuff. There's most reptiles won't eat those things just naturally. Like if you gave a leopard gecko a carrot, he's not going to eat the carrot because it's not a moving insect. So what we do is we feed our bugs the food that we want our other reptiles to eat. So we're essentially just transferring nutrients to the bug, which then transfers it into whatever reptile we're feeding. So that's pretty much the goal and the purpose of it. So you want to pretty much give your bugs a varied diet of different things. What I usually do is I give stuff that I would normally feed my bearded dragons. I also toss in here with these guys, with any of my bugs. Now these here are dubia roaches and super worms, but you could do this with mealworms, you could do this with crickets, any feeder that you're feeding your reptiles for the most part. So I guess I'll just break it down for you real quick. So I have my feeders here that I breed and feed. Those are the roaches, like I said, and the super worms. I already kind of did half of this because I did this a couple days ago before I thought about making the video for it. But the first thing I do is I grab this stuff, which is just Quaker Oats old-fashioned oatmeal, pretty much. And this is essentially like dry food for them. So I just literally open it up. You can see in here, it's just normal oatmeal. I don't do anything special to it. I just literally open up the container, dump it in there, as you can see in here, and that gives them something to hide and bury in, as well as to eat. Now, some people will like kind of grab this and crush it up for like the smaller bugs, like the smaller dubia roaches, so that it's easier for them to eat. I find you don't really need to do that because after a couple of days of having it in there, the big ones will eat the oats or whatever, which then will in return break down the oats and stuff, so you get all different kind of sizes for all different kind of bugs. So that's something, if you want to do, you can kind of grind it all up, make it into a fine powder. It does make it easier, but personally I don't think that's just an extra step you don't have to do. The next thing I do is I usually buy Rapashi has a bunch of different kind of food that you can feed your bugs. This one's called morning wood. I think it's mostly for like active bugs that people have. I forget, springtails and stuff like that. But every bug that I've ever fed this to, they love it. It's a bunch of nutrients and stuff that they need to add to their other diet. It's just something else to add. There's I bought like 3 different kinds before. This is the only kind I have left though. You could also mix this with water, as you can see. There's directions. You mix it with boiling water, and it makes it into like a jello paste kind of stuff, which is good, and it keeps your not as well as giving the nutrients. It also keeps the bugs and stuff hydrated without having to use like water crystals or like a water sponge or something, because that kind of gets messy. So that's something else I do. Like I said, there's other kinds besides the morning wood. I forget exactly what they're called. There's one called like a bug burger or something, and they're all really good. Same with the oats. I literally just open this up and sprinkle it throughout dry food. So literally, as you can see, it's just like this powder stuff in here. I literally just sprinkle it all over the dry food, and then done. I also add it to the super worms and any other bugs that I feed. Essentially, I'm just trying to get the most diverse nutrients in these bugs, so when I feed them to my leopard geckos or bearded dragons or whatever reptile, they also get all the nutrients. Now another thing I will do is grab just regular Repashy or any brand calcium and vitamin powder, and I also do the same thing I do with all the other dry food. I just scoop it up in there, bring it over to the other stuff, and just dump it in there. Now this is really good because this is just a direct source of calcium and vitamins. So it's kind of like most people, which I still do as well, but most people dust their crickets with the calcium or dust their bugs and then feed it, which is another good way, another really good way to do it actually. But as well as just gut loading your bugs, because then the dubia roach is going to eat the calcium, which and then return that calcium that they ate is going to go into the reptile regardless. But like I said, I still do dust my crickets and bugs and stuff every once in a while as well, just to make sure they're getting enough calcium. So that's kind of what I do with the dry part. Now the wet part is a tiny bit different. I have this little like to-go container, whatever. I cut a hole in it so the bugs can get in and out. And what I usually do is I feed a handful of vegetables. So today is going to be, we're going to get some carrots. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to get some carrots. I always put them on paper towel because sometimes the carrots and the veggies and stuff get a little wet. And then I'll grab some collard greens that I have for the bearded dragons. There we go. And last but not least, today I have potatoes, so I'm just going to put some potatoes in there. These potatoes are really good for hydration. So yeah, so this is kind of like the little salad that I make. And now, obviously, I have a lot of bugs in here, as you will see here in a second. So there's that whole thing is full of dubia roaches of all sizes. That whole thing is full. You lift it up. There's a bunch on the other side. There's a bunch under all the food. There's a kind of some in here. Now you may notice as well that I have some mealworms and superworms and beetles and stuff in here. That's just kind of for a cleaner crew. They help clean up whatever the dubia roaches don't eat in time before it goes bad. So what you want to make sure though when you're gut loading is you don't want to put too much food in at once, especially the wet stuff like the fruits and veggies. So I don't have any fruits here, but you could just add any kind of fruits you want: blueberries, raspberries, apples, any of that stuff. I just don't have any. I usually add mango. What I usually do is usually like eat a mango, and then whatever's left around the big seed in the middle, I'll just throw in there with the bugs as well, and they pick at it. But you don't want to feed too much wet food to your roaches at one time. One, because this will eventually obviously get dried out and it leaves a mess that the roaches and stuff won't eat. It'll just be dry greens everywhere. It just makes a big mess. Another reason is the wet food. As you can see, it's wet, it's moist, which increases the humidity in the tub. So let's say you threw a bunch of carrots and potatoes in the tub and they don't get eaten right away. It's just gonna break down and air out and cause humidity in the cage, which you don't want at all in your bugs. Humidity will make all the poop kind of clump together and be nasty. All the roaches or bugs will get kind of clumped together and die. The dry food will get wet and moldy and it's really nasty. So that's one reason why I keep it separated in that little to-go tub. And I don't put more than I know the bugs are going to eat in like 24 hours. So I usually throw a couple potatoes, a little bit of the greens and carrots. So as you can see, this is actually probably more than they will eat in 24 hours. Someone to come and check back and just make sure and take out whatever they don't eat. As you can see, I still have a pile of greens here. So what I'm gonna do is take some of it, put it right in with the superworms like that. And put it over by the potatoes that are already in there. Put another potato in there. You can see these guys eat like crazy. These guys actually eat a lot more than the roaches eat. But there's also a lot in here. You can't just really see it. It's all under the oats. So what I'm going to do is just toss a little bit left in here. I know these fat asses are going to eat it. And that's literally it, guys. Now you just wait, you know, a couple days for them to eat it. Eventually they're going to eat everything. All the nutrients are going to be inside their bodies. And then once you go ahead and feed those bugs, after a couple of days, to your bearded dragon or leopard gecko or monitor or whatever it is, they will in return theoretically also be eating all this stuff as well. So since the leopard geckos, like I said, they need nutrients from the greens and the vegetables and the dry oats and the potatoes and stuff, but they won't directly eat that stuff. So instead what we do is we feed them to the feeders we're about to feed them, so they still get their nutrients. It's just transferring the potatoes, carrots, and collard greens through the bug instead of feeding the potato directly to the reptile. And so that's it. Not only is this good for gut loading, this is really good just to keep them alive, They'll keep them going, keep them hydrated, keep them fed. They'll even breathe for you like mine do if you keep up the right, temperatures and living conditions. And that's literally what I do. So what I usually do is I usually cut up a bunch of vegetables and fruits and stuff for my bearded dragons, and then I'll feed them off. I'll feed like most of it off to the one, feed the other half of the salad mixture to the other one, and then I'll grab the little bit that's left or any trimmings or anything and toss it in with the bugs, like so. And that's literally all you gotta do. Your reptiles are guaranteed to be healthy because the bugs are healthy. They're not just empty calories or empty shells. Like I said, you could do this. I do this with my mealworms. I'll take my mealworms out of the fridge, maybe once or twice a week. Let them warm up a little bit. Toss a little bit of food in there. Let them digest it and everything. Then toss them back in the fridge. You can do it with crickets. You could do it with any kind of roach. Literally anything that you feed, pretty much that will eat normal food. You could do it for, and I highly recommend it. Like I said, it's still pretty important to dust your reptiles food with the calcium and vitamin powders, but if you do this method, it's definitely a lot less important, and I do it a lot less because, like I said, it's just not needed. The bugs are eating the calcium powder and the bug food that has calcium in it, the oats that have all the calcium, protein, and they're getting all the nutrients from the food that they eat, which in turn transfers to the bug. So in reality, when I'm dusting, just say I take a bunch of superworms out and I dust them to feed to a bearded dragon, they're pretty much just getting the extra calcium from me dusting instead of me not dusting and them losing calcium. If I don't dust one time, they're just not getting the extra calcium, which I don't think they would really need as long as you keep up with gut loading and your bugs start eating, everything that they're supposed to. So that being said, guys, that's pretty much my video on how to gut load and why to gut load. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.